Have you ever studied really hard for something? Hours of reading, pages of notes, and then realized almost none of it actually stuck? You put in the time, you put in the effort, but the results just weren't there. And you started wondering, am I just bad at learning? Here's what I want you to understand right now. You are not bad at learning. You just might not know how you learn best. And that one piece of self-knowledge can completely change everything. Welcome to Dr. Speak Now. I'm your host. This is the Education and Self-Improvement series, and this is episode 0. In this series, we are going to cover 10 real-world topics that every ambitious English learner needs to talk about confidently. Learning styles, books, online courses, academic pressure, goal setting, imposter syndrome, and more. Each episode is a complete shadowing practice session. You listen, you repeat, you build real spoken English, not textbook English, real English. If this is your first time here, welcome. Hit subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss an episode. If you've been here before, welcome back. Let's get to work. Today in episode, we are practicing the language of learning styles, how you absorb information, what works for you, and how to describe it confidently and naturally in English. This is vocabulary and language you will use in classrooms, in job interviews, in conversations with colleagues, and in any situation where someone asks, how do you work? How do you think? How do you learn? Most English courses never teach you this. Dr. Speak Now does. Here is how today's episode works. I will say each sentence at a natural pace. You will hear it once, then a short pause. That pause is your moment. Speak out loud. Repeat exactly what you hear. Copy my rhythm, my tone, my intonation. Don't just listen, speak. That is the Dr. Speak Now way. Speak English. Don't just study it. Before we begin the shadowing practice, let's cover today's 5 vocabulary words. These are the words that will appear throughout this episode. Know them before you hear them. Word number 1, absorb. To absorb means to take in and understand information deeply, not just read it, but truly process it. Some people absorb information better by reading. Others need to hear it out loud. Word number 2, retain. To retain means to keep information in your memory over time, not just understand it in the moment, but remember it later. The best learning strategies help you retain what you've studied long after the lesson is over. Word number 3, visual learner. A visual learner is someone who understands best through images, diagrams, charts, and written text. She realized she was a visual learner when she started drawing mind maps and suddenly everything made sense. Word number 4, hands-on. Hands-on means learning by doing, through direct experience and real practice rather than theory alone. He preferred hands-on learning. Reading about it was never enough until he actually tried it himself. Word number 5, reflect. To reflect means to think carefully and deeply about your own experience, to look back and extract the lesson. After each lesson, she would take 10 minutes to reflect on what she had learned and what still confused her. 5 words: absorb, retain, visual learner, hands-on, reflect. Keep them in mind as we move through today's shadowing sentences. Now let's practice. Listen carefully, then repeat out loud during every pause. Speak clearly, speak confidently. Here we go. I've always learned better by doing things rather than just reading about them. I've always learned better by doing things rather than just reading about them. I tend to absorb information more easily when I can see it written down. I tend to absorb information more easily when I can see it written down. Listening to explanations helps me understand concepts much more quickly. Listening to explanations helps me understand concepts much more quickly. I find it difficult to retain information if I only read it once without reviewing it. I find it difficult to retain information if I only read it once without reviewing it. Taking notes by hand helps me remember things much better than typing. Taking notes by hand helps me remember things much better than typing. Let me pause here for a moment. Did you notice the phrase, taking notes by hand? Research actually supports this. Writing by hand forces your brain to process and summarize, which is exactly what retention requires. That's not just good English, that's good science. Now let's continue. I prefer learning in short, focused sessions rather than long marathon study blocks. I prefer learning in short, focused sessions rather than long marathon study blocks. I discovered I was a visual learner when diagrams started making more sense than paragraphs. I discovered I was a visual learner when diagrams started making more sense than paragraphs. I learn best when I can immediately apply what I've just studied to a real situation. I learn best when I can immediately apply what I've just studied to a real situation. Explaining something to someone else is one of the best ways I reinforce my own understanding. Explaining something to someone else is one of the best ways I reinforce my own understanding. Stop. That last sentence is gold. Explaining something to someone else reinforces your own understanding. This is actually called the protégé effect in psychology. Teaching someone else forces you to organize your knowledge clearly. So the next time you learn something new in English, explain it to a friend. You will remember it twice as well. Now let's finish strong. I like to reflect on what I've learned at the end of each day, even just for 5 minutes. I like to reflect on what I've learned at the end of each day, even just for 5 minutes. I found that spaced repetition helps me retain vocabulary far more effectively. I found that spaced repetition helps me retain vocabulary far more effectively. Hands-on experience has always taught me more than any textbook ever could. Hands-on experience has always taught me more than any textbook ever could. I need a quiet environment to concentrate. Background noise breaks my focus completely. I need a quiet environment to concentrate. Background noise breaks my focus completely. Some people learn best under pressure. I do better when I have time to process things slowly. Some people learn best under pressure. I do better when I have time to process things slowly. Understanding my learning style has made me a significantly more efficient student. Understanding my learning style has made me a significantly more efficient student. Excellent work. Let's do a quick review of today's 5 vocabulary words, this time in full sentences that show exactly how a fluent speaker uses them. Absorb. The best learners don't just read, they actively absorb and question everything they encounter. Retain. Review your notes within 24 hours if you want to retain what you studied. That's when memory is most vulnerable. Visual learner. Visual learners often benefit from color-coded notes, diagrams, and mind maps, anything that turns ideas into images. Hands-on. Hands-on practice is irreplaceable. Theory only takes you so far before you need to actually do it. Reflect. Take time to reflect after every learning session. Growth doesn't happen during the experience, it happens in the pause after. That is a wrap on episode 1 of the Dr. SpeakNow Education and Self-Improvement series. You just practiced the language of self-awareness and learning, vocabulary and sentences that will serve you in classrooms, interviews, professional conversations, and every real-world situation where you need to talk about how you think and how you grow. Come back and run through this episode a second time this week. The second time will feel noticeably easier, and that feeling is your fluency growing in real time. In episode 2, we are talking about books. How to discuss what you've read, share your opinion, and make book conversations feel completely natural in English. If you've ever finished a great book and struggled to explain it in English, episode 2 is exactly what you need. If today's episode helped you, subscribe to Dr. Speak Now and hit the notification bell. Drop a comment below and tell me, are you a visual learner, a hands-on learner, or something else entirely? I read every single comment. And remember, speak English. Don't just study it. I'll see you in next episode.